Welcome to Not Technique Tuesday, the video technique series in which we couldn't figure out how to name it. We thought Technique Tuesday was stupid, so we're going to name it Not Technique Tuesday. And in this month, we're going to do a series of every Tuesday posting a technique analysis video of the squat, so you can get better at the squat, use the right muscles, not get injured, get a better butt, make sure your core is strong, not hurt your back, get more muscle definition, all the benefits, none of the drawbacks, da-da-da. Here we go. This month, or this week, sorry, we're gonna talk about how to get deeper in the squat if you're having trouble getting as low as you need to. So before we discuss how to get deeper, number one, we have to discuss how low do you actually need to go. If you talk to very dogmatic powerlifters, they'll say, you need to get ass to grass. You need to get your hips below your knee, below parallel. And that's true if you are a competitive powerlifter, because that's how you make sure you're gonna be in competition and not disqualified. But if you're not a competitive powerlifter and you're just lifting to feel better, move better, look better, be more confident, get stronger, you don't need to go with your hip below your knee. Can you? Yes, totally fine. But let's say going that low causes hip pain or knee pain or discomfort or it scares you, you don't have to. There's no like police who's gonna be like, fuck you, you're not going deep enough, it's okay. Generally speaking, what I'd like to see is about parallel. And what that means is, as you squat down, your hip is gonna be about parallel with the top of your knee. If you go lower and it's comfortable, great. If you go a little bit higher, that's okay too. It's not gonna make that big of a difference. The main thing I don't want is going this low and thinking you're squatting, or going this low and thinking you're squatting. This is not a squat. This is not a squat. I'd like to see you get at least this low, if not a little bit lower. And keep in mind, when you first start, you might not go as low as you can, but we'll progress you there over time until the point where you get to at least parallel. And if you want to go below, that's awesome. If not, that's awesome too. What's important to remember is there are many reasons why you might not be able to get as low as you want in the squat. That said, I'm going to outline the 3 most common that I see across most populations, starting with a mistake a lot of people make with their knees, a mistake a lot of people make with their feet, and a mistake a lot of people make with their breath. So mistake number 1, the mistake that people make with their knees, is breaking at the knees first and not breaking at the hips. Now what this looks like is this. People will be squatting here, and when they begin the squat, instead of coming back like this and breaking at the hips and the knees at the same time, they'll break at the knees first, doing this, which what happens is you get blocked up with your ankles and you end up not being able to get low. Most people do this not because they aren't able to break at the hips, but because they get scared. This happens a lot of times when people start squatting with a barbell on their back and they get nervous, so they're usually much stronger with their quads, so they break at their knees because their quads are supporting them rather than breaking at the hips where their glutes and hamstrings are, so it's easier for them to go here, but then they get locked up and they can't go deeper. So that's actually why I like starting with a goblet squat, where you hold a dumbbell or a kettlebell in front of you like this and learn how to sit back and down at the same time. This way you ingrain in your neuromuscular system to sit back and down, and that way when you go to a barbell you learn to sit like this rather than to break at your knees first. If you're breaking your knees first and not allowing your hips to go back, you're gonna get locked up and not be able to get deep. The second mistake people make is having their feet too close together and their toes too straight forward. Because a lot of people in the fitness industry sometimes say that you have to be symmetrical and your feet have to be shoulder width apart and straight and in a line and no deviation, it has to be perfect. That's ridiculous. Number one, we're not symmetrical beings. A lot of us have a longer leg, a longer arm, our organs aren't symmetrical, we're just not symmetrical beings. And the idea that you need to be perfectly in line symmetrical is a misnomer. It's a logical fallacy, it's not true. Generally speaking, when people are, there are some people, I should say, who can go feet shoulder width apart, toes pointed straight forward, and squat great. And if that's you, fantastic. Most people need a little bit extra breathing room in their hips. So rather than being directly shoulder width apart and feet straight forward, I like getting my feet a little bit wider than shoulder width apart and toes slightly turned out. maybe 25 to 35 degrees. It depends. You have to see what feels best for you. My rule of thumb is your big toe should always be in line with your knee. If your big toe is here and your knee's coming out to the side, it puts a lot of torque on your knee. In the same way as if your toe is out here and your knee's coming in, that also puts a lot of torque on your knee, which can be dangerous. So whatever you choose, just make sure that your knees are come in line with your toes like this, so that you're not putting torque and too much stress on them. So slightly wider than shoulder width apart, toes slightly outturned, 25 to 35 degrees. This way you get more breathing room in the hips to get down nice and low. The last mistake that people make, that I would say most people make without knowing, is they're not breathing correctly. And before I explain how to do it correctly and how you're making the mistake, you can test it to see if you're making the mistake right now. So what I want you to do is literally right now with me, take a big breath in as if you were about to squat. Take a big breath in. Now, if you did that and you notice your chest went up like this, you're breathing wrong. Most people take a big breath in, either through their nose or through their mouth, and their chest comes up. This is an issue for a couple of reasons. Number one is you're breathing with your accessory muscles, in your pec minor, your scalene, sternocleidomastoid, blah, blah, blah. And what that does is it's not bad, but when you breathe in through your chest and not through your belly or your diaphragm first, you're leaving everything here, your spine, your back, at risk of getting hurt. Because imagine this, imagine if your arm has a floaty wrap around it in the pool, and when you inflate the floaty, all of a sudden it's stable, right? It's tight, you're gonna float, it's good. If the floaty is deflated and you don't have air in it, your arm has more of ability to move and bend, and that's what's gonna happen with your spine. So filling your diaphragm and belly with air keeps your spine stable, so it's less likely to get hurt. The other thing, when you fill your chest up first, what happens is this. Your lower back arches. Now you go into this lumbar, this lower back hyperextension, and when you do that, when you try and squat with a hyperextended lower back, you're inherently going to be limited in how low you can go. Because it's called a lumbopelvic rhythm. When you can keep this, your pelvis and your lower back and everything in your torso in a good alignment, now all of a sudden you can get nice and deep because your core is tight, everything's in a line. But if you're here, it's very hard to actually get deep because you've used a lot of that range of motion with your lower back and your pelvis. So instead of taking a big breath in through your chest, first in through your nose, fill your belly up, then through your mouth, fill your chest up. Now you have what I call a full canister. Okay, so everything from here to here is full. Brace your abs. Then you can squat nice and deep and squeeze. Squeeze really hard. The harder you squeeze, the more tension you create in a good way. And then you can get all the way nice and deep, nice and low, and you're good to go. It's gonna help your squat. I hope this series helped. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I would love it. If you don't like the content, you can unsubscribe, call me a muggle. I won't be offended, totally fine. Tune in next week. We're gonna cover the next topic in the squat, which I don't know what we're doing yet, but it's gonna be good. Have a good one. Talk to you soon.